Welcome back, viewers, to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we have in studio with us today Technical Advisor to the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Anslem Richards. Good morning, Mr. Richards.
Good morning, Updates. Good morning, world. Thank you for having me this morning.
And it's good for you to be back with us today. And today we want to be talking about Tobago. We know that you are an economist, and we want to be talking about Tobago and Tobago's economic future and the plans that the Tobago House of Assembly has for Tobago's economic future. So let's get straight into the conversation, and I know that you'll be advising the THA. So just tell us some of the strategies and economic policies that the Tobago House of Assembly wants to implement to take Tobago forward.
Great, thanks. So you'll recall that the Chief Secretary would have placed before us a grand, ambitious vision for Tobago, making the island, the great Tobago, the greatest little island on the planet. Child by child, family by family, village by village. So that's the philosophical frame in which we are working to do the development. So what we would have done, we would have looked at the data collected when the party was campaigning, and they had a document called the People's Mandate. And then we would have revised all the development plans that Tobago would have experienced from since 1963 after Flora, 63 right up to date. And what we found from that is that the same issues that were attending to Tobago in the 1960s, about 80 of them is still present in our development portfolio. So what it means that all the plans we would have done over the years, only about 10% of the recommendation was action. So that it means that we have an implementation deficit in the Tobago space for a number of reasons. One, institutional capacity, technical capacity, and most critically, the economic resource. Because any development plan, you will know that home without resources, without finances, will be difficult for any individual or any country or any institution. So what we would have done, having found that out, there are different iterations in how we do a development plan. So this administration has chosen the pathway, the development pathway, a strategic development pathway for Tobago. And what we would have done, we'd build out, and it's a simple model. It's a logical development model, step by step, that connects all the action items that you want to do for the next 40 years. So we will do the plan in 20-year cycle. So we have developed a pathway, and we are in the process of putting it online soon, a development pathway for Tobago 2025-2045. Which is a 20-year pathway, so we have 5 years planning cycles. So it goes beyond the life of the THA. That pathway will house all the development objectives and the programs and projects that we are doing, implementing, funding to achieve those targets. And we have targets, timeline, measurements, and evaluation. So we have a comprehensive development matrix, if you want to call it that, that will be shared with the public to move Tobago to this greatest little island on the planet.
So, Mr. Richards, what are some of the in terms of specificity, what are some of the sectors that the Tobago House of Assembly is looking towards developing, some of the projects, some of the initiatives that Tobagonians can look forward to?
Right. So critical to the development of the island, most critical issue is our right to self-determination. Because unless we fix this constitutional issue, this 1976 constitutional constitution, colonized constitution that colonized Tobago constitutionally. And let me tell you the effect of that. You have a constitutional arrangement now where central government can come into the Tobago space in the presence of the people elected island government, the THA, do a 1-point-something million project without the intimate involvement of the island government. Open the facility without getting the island government involved. Embarrass the head of our island government at that function. Bring boatloads and payloads of sycophants from Port of Spain to laugh and jeer our head of government on this island. That is the embarrassing nature of this constitutional arrangement that we need to get out of, Because let me tell you something, unless Tobago completes the internal self-government project and get the hell out of this 1996 colonial constitutional arrangement, this island we'll find ourselves very difficult to advance the development of this island and the development of Tobago.
Mr. Richards, that conversation about internal self-governance on the island of Tobago has been a conversation for many years. Since
1976 in its full glory.
Before I was born.
1976.
Right? And we're talking about having this conversation, and every time we have this conversation, anybody who speaks about it is very passionate. At least it comes across as if they are passionate about the topic and ensuring that we get what we want. But every time the topic comes up, there's always a pull and a tug. So what is the thing that will assure us that, hey, We're going to make some headway. We're going to make some inroads, and we're going to get it done. Because government after government, administration after administration will come in, talk, and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we want. We all agree that this is what we want.
Yeah.
There's no Tobagonian who will say, nah, we don't want that. Everybody wants it. But there's always a struggle. So how do we break through? How do we break the glass ceiling to ensure that that particular project that you're talking about, because they said that's the primary one
It's
of
the
all
foundational
the
project.
foundational project.
Foundational
So
project.
without that, the other projects they wouldn't be optimized.
They would not be optimized.
So
They would be stymied.
how do you break through and ensure that we get this particular thing so that all the other projects that we're working on will be optimized?
Right. So the struggle for this internal self-government has been the struggle in the parliament. And it has to do with the politics in Port of Spain. And let me tell you this. Port of Spain is not interested and has not been interested and has never been interested in Tobago's right to self-determination. If you go to the history. If you go in 1976, when the motion was debated in the House in 1977 with Robinson and Murray as our area representative, and that is the foundational struggle, you will see that the PNM in Port of Spain, Eric Williams and them, they laugh and jeered Robinson and Murray. They say Robinson want to dissolve the unitary state. Because you see, the internal self-government will dilute the control the central government has over Tobago. And people in power don't necessarily love to give up power. But is that the right model for the people? Are people only free when they are governed by their own laws? We are not making laws for the good governance and peaceful development of Tobago. Somebody else in Port of Spain are making law and telling us how we should live. And that is not it. Our right to self-determination is a human right. That
I understand, Mr. Richard, just now, I understand the struggle. I understand where we are. That has already been established. Right. My question is, how do we get it?
Well, this is the greatest opportunity we have with the politics that is in the space. The Tobago People's Party has an opportunity to change the dynamics in the parliament if it wins the 2 Tobago seats. Because if you take away the 2 Tobago seats, the configuration in Trinidad is a one, based on the last election, is a 1-seat majority. So Tobago holds the power. We can now negotiate strongly with either of the parties, and I don't think we should negotiate with the PNM because the PNM is our rival in Tobago. But we can negotiate clearly.
Mr. Richards,
let me finish this point.
Okay, go ahead.
We can negotiate clearly with which party should form the central government on the condition that we move with dispatch to complete the internal self-government project. It has to be a fundamental strategy coming out of this election. And Tobagonians must understand and must be made to understand that we have a golden opportunity, probably the last opportunity, to really change and shift the dynamics that have been debarring us from obtaining our internal self-government over the last, 44 years. Remember, if you go back to the history of the THA, the only time we have had some kind of platonic shift in the legislative construct of the THA is when the PNM is out of office. In 1980, we got the Act, right? Act 37 of 1980. In 1996, when the Act was changed to the current Act 40 of 1996, it was when we had 1772. So if you follow the logic and the history of the issue, it means therefore we have to do a different configuration of the parliament in Trinidad to really achieve this. It's going to be a challenge. It has to be strategic. You have to build the coalition in Trinidad and move the project forward.
Mr. Richards, this idea of using the 2 Tobago seats to negotiate for the benefit of Tobago has been, people have spoken about that for decades. And we've attempted that on numerous occasions, and it has failed on numerous occasions.
No. It did not fail in 1996.
What about this time around is going to make it so beneficial to Tobagonians?
No. You said that. You said that it has failed. It has failed on numerous occasions. Let me tell you something. In 2010, when the TOP won the 2 seats, and Delman Baker and Vanilla Allen were members of parliament, and they joined the PP government. The PP government moved with dispatch. As a matter of fact, the completion of the internal self-government project was a feature in the manifesto, clearly laid out. The problem we had was the current the ex-prime minister who stood up, and we only wanted one vote.
Right.
One vote in the parliament for the bill to go through. And if you recall your history, Dr. Keith Rowley, who was the opposition leader at the time, spoke in the parliament and walked out. He did not even sit down after the debate to work out the logistic, the legislative logistic, to empower the people of Tobago. So I'm saying our struggle from the historical antecedent has always been the PNM. And the PNM by design is algorithm. And let me use computer language. The PNM by design is programmed to prevent, to disrupt, to trample, to dismantle anything that is progressive for the people of Tobago. So you could think otherwise.
Mr. Richard, so let me put this forward to you, right? So you stated that 41 people in Parliament, and you said that historically the Parliament does not want to devolve power to Tobago.
No, the PNM. When the PNM is in control, the PNM.
So
not the Parliament, the PNM.
One politician once said to a group of us that he does not think that he would see increased autonomy for Tobago in his lifetime, because you have to convince 41 people in Parliament to give up power that they don't want to give up. We have seen where the UNC or the People's Partnership would have brought legislation for Tobago to advance that was rejected by the Parliament. We've seen where the PNM have brought legislation for Tobago to advance that was rejected by the Parliament. So it was rejected whether UNC rejected and PNM rejected in the past. We've seen that, right? Let us assume that beyond the Parliament, we don't get the economic the change to the THA Act that we need to advance the island forward in the way that the TPP wants to advance the island forward. Barring that we do not get the legislation, what plans and ideas and initiatives can the THA execute, or the THA, this administration is planning to execute to move Tobago forward? Because we can't just say, we can't wait for Parliament to finally decide to give Tobago the autonomy it needs. We could be waiting forever. We could be waiting for 50 years.
But I didn't tell you we were waiting on the autonomy. Right, I told you, and I want to correct you. I told you that the most important of the project is the internal self-government issue that we need to complete. I'm not saying that you all said you're waiting. Remember, I started this conversation by saying that we have put in place a development pathway from 2025 to 2045. Yes. In one project, in another story. There.
Right, I know that.
Oh, no, one project. No, let me finish, because you made a statement and I want to correct you. That is giving the impression to the listening public that I am advocating that we're sitting down and waiting. But your statement is conveying that. So I want to correct that in the public conception. Because I want to go back to my opening statement by telling you that we have looked at all the development plans that were done for Tobago from the 1960s. And what we found is that over 90% of the ideas and the policy prescription are still relevant today. I told you that the issue is really a deficit in implementation deficit, institutional challenges, human capacity challenges, and critically funding and the legislative framework. And for us, we have identified the internal self-government project as the most critical and important of all the project, because that will give us the legislative muscle to lift up the transformation we want to implement in Tobago.
We understand, we understand and accept that.
Travel with me, brothers and sisters. Travel with me.
What I want to get into now are a couple of the other projects that are of importance as well for execution and implementation here in Tobago for the sake of our economy, the boost that we're looking forward to, for people to just have a comfortable type of, living.
So we have 21 development priority areas, right? And let me pull them up and share them with you. 21 development priority areas in the development plan is a very huge thing, and it's going to be online for the world to see. So we are not in the business of making joke. We have a team of young technical people working on this plan, and we are going to ensure that we put in framework policies, programs, and projects that will ensure the development of Tobago. Let me just pull these things up for you. One is that we want to have targeted economic growth, and we set some targets for the first year, 2% economic growth, by making critical investment in critical sector infrastructure, human capital development, and so forth. We want to have a world-class educational system. It means, therefore, we have to revise how we do education in Tobago. And the World Bank has just came out with a report, I don't know if you saw it, about a month ago, roughly, about the state of education in the Caribbean and the need for us to transform our education system. We want to have development in our productive sector, tourism, agriculture, infrastructure, fisheries, manufacturing. So we have a comprehensive economic plan. I'm trying to, to pull this document.
And that's what I'm saying. I know you've mentioned the sectors, but in terms of specific projects,
yes.
specific initiatives and programs, that you want to implement even if it's just one sector, so that we can identify that specific project.
Let me tell you let me go in this year, what they are doing for this year. Remember, the Chief Secretary, after the budget, announced that we are going to be doing 44 projects. So I could share those with you. That will be more relevant and on point. So let me pull that up and share that with you. What are the 44 projects that the Assembly is working on in this year? Those are the approved projects for implementation. Let me just pull that up so I could share that with you and the listening public. Let me just find that. Just give me a minute.
I feel, Mr. Richards, that list should have been right at your fingertips.
No, it's right here. It's the technology
on the tip of your tongue, in fact, rather.
Yes. All right. So we have...
Just give us about 5. We'll work with 5. I know it's 44, but we could work with 5 just for the sake of time, because I wish we had more time to continue this conversation to get more of the information from you. And it's quite possible we might bring you back to further the conversation.
We'll have to bring you back.
But in the interest of time and, of course, our programming, just give us 5, the first 5 that come to your mind, if you can pull up the list, and we'll take it from there.
In the agricultural sector, we are moving forward with the Mega Farm project. We are also moving forward with a new veterinary lab to deal with because of the livestock issues in that. In education, we are paying specific attention to preschool education. There's the proposed construction of a new early childhood education center in the Blackrock, Plymouth area. We are also looking to provide a special campus for our challenge school population. Our strategy is to have integration into the normal school population. But it's a systematic approach, because when you put them into the normal population, they develop the life skills so that they can function on their own. You don't want to have them housed in a campus by themselves. So we have a integration strategy, but there's a need now for a specialized institution to deal with them. Right? In health, we are modernizing our health care system by moving fully to use digital solutions and also AI in some of our diagnostic projects, diagnostic evaluation, AI to help read images and so forth. Right, so that is in the health sector. I spoke to education. In agriculture, I spoke to agriculture. In the public service, we are moving to digitize or to digitize public administration. Critical for us is the digitization of our finances. It is difficult to manage $3 billion around there in a manual system. It makes all kind of accounting challenges, payment challenges. So we are in the process of, you heard about the FMIS project. That is a critical. We have already started our e-tender project. We have a contract with the STT, e-tender, so you can stay home and tender for a project. And the procurement legislation now provides for those kind of public transparency and the kind of penalties that is associated with that. We are also moving to establish the Tobago Development Fund. The Tobago Development Fund replaces the concept of the Tobago Development Bank. This is to create a new ecosystem of financing for business development and even the development funding of projects in the public sector in Tobago, because we recognize that one of the challenges to move the economy is the availability of investment capital. So we are establishing this institution. It is advanced. It is registered. We are operationalizing it now. We have international donors standing by with large bags of money to invest in Tobago. We have an investment portfolio where we are building a prospectus on investment in Tobago. We have just acquired the Culloden Estate, where there's approval there for the construction of a hotel and villas. There is over 100 and something acres.
I'm sure you could go on and on, because
we have a plan.
Right.
We have a comprehensive strategic development pathway populated with projects and programs, and we are changing the way we do business in Tobago. So what we want to do, we are not doing projects isolated. We are doing, for instance, we'll have a program of investment in our social infrastructure. So we can, at the end of the day, we can come to you and tell you, we have invested $10 million, $20 million in social infrastructure, namely community centers, youth empowerment centers, playing field. So you have a more organized way of accounting and tracking the progress and development of the island. Because if we are going to the greatest island on the planet, there has to be a pathway to do that. And there has to be systems and measures in place of how we measure our progress along this journey. That is what the strategic development pathway provides for Tobago. And it will be online. We are now working with some companies. The website is partially developed. We are now refining it. So before the end of June, I think it will be live. So the public here and abroad, anywhere in the world you can sign in and see what our development plans, what our programs, what our projects and initiatives to really change the lives and experiences of the people of Tobago. But critical before we go, don't forget, if a people do not have control over their destiny, we are living in a state of constitutional occupation. You see what is happening in Gaza?
Mr. Richards, thank you so much.
I leave you all with that this morning.
Thank you so much.
Reflect on that, my friends.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
That is the life you want to leave as an inheritance for your children and your great-grandchildren.
Thank you. Thank you.
It can be. It may not be as
Mr. Richards, in the sake of time, we really have to wrap up this morning. We appreciate your enthusiasm this morning. We appreciate, your passion and all of that. But thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. Anslem Richards, technical advisor and economist in the Tobago House of Assembly, as we spoke about, how are we going to improve the economic state of Tobago and Tobagoans? How do I benefit? How do you benefit? How do all of us benefit and generations to come? Before we go, of course, the photo of the day. Were you able to guess the photo of the day submitted today by Mr. Kerry Walcott? The photo of the day, this is taken at Big Hole in Goodwood, and we do hope that you were able to guess it. Ladies and gentlemen, finally we have come to the end of the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our programming. We head on over to GMT, so you must stay with us as the conversations continue, and as you go, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live.